So now that we know what a function is, we want to be able to evaluate a function. Evaluate is just a fancy word for saying substitute. So what we want to do is we want to be able to substitute a given value or a given expression into where the variable is. Okay. Now, in a function, there are two places. Remember, we talked about there's an input and an output. So the first question that we have to ask ourselves is, the value that they've given us, do they want us to replace that as the input, or do they want us to replace that as the output? So it's going to determine where we are going to put that value. We have something called function notation. So function notation is just this f of, and these parentheses represent the word of. So if we have f of x, it would look similar to this. This is what we call our function notation. Okay, and in function notation, what is inside is the independent, or the x value, or the input. And what it is equal to on the outside here, that's going to be, typically we say that that's a y, that's going to be our dependent variable, our y value, or our output. Okay. So using this function notation, we're going to be able to determine, are they giving us the input or are they giving us the output? Then we will plug in to whichever place it is and find the other value. Okay, so let's look at this first example here. So the first thing that we want to look at actually is going to be a set of ordered pairs. So the first question asks us to find f of -1. So what they are saying is they are giving us an x value of -1, and they are asking us to find what is that corresponding y value. So that's what that function notation statement says here. F -1 is saying the x is -1, what is the y? So I'm going to go into my set of ordered pairs here. I'm going to find the x of -1, and my y value is 3. So my answer would be 3. All right. Now, they could also ask me a question where they say f of x equals 7. So this time what they're saying is they're giving us a y value of 7, and they want us to find what is that corresponding x value. So I'm going to go back to my set of ordered pairs, but this time I'm going to find a y value of 7, and it corresponds with the x value of 4. So my answer this time would be 4. So it's all about being able to read that function notation, knowing which one they're asking for, and giving the other corresponding either input or output. All right, so we looked at that from ordered pairs. Now we want to look at that from a graph. So the same idea here. If I look at this first problem, it says f of -2. So what they're saying is when the x is equal to -2, they want to know what is the y value. So now I'm going to go to my graph, and I'm going to go to x being -2, and I'm going to find that point on the graph. So I see that ordered pair would be -2, 0. So they gave me the x, I'm going to give them the y, so my answer would be 0. Okay. Let's look at another problem. F of 0. So they're telling me when the x value is equal to 0, what is the y value? So I'm going to go to my x value at 0. I'm going to find it on the graph here. So that point is going to be 0, 4. So they gave me the x of 0. I'm going to answer with the y value of 4. So I'm not really doing any math per se. However, what I am doing is being able to read that mathematical statement, being able to say when they give me an x, what is the y, and vice versa. All right, so let's look at the next problem. Here they're telling me now the y value is 2, and I want to know what is the x value. So I'm going to go to the y value of 2. I'm going to find, and I actually have two answers, right? Because when the y value is 2, I have the ordered pair -1, 2. I also have the ordered pair 1, 2. So when the y value is 2, I have two answers. My answer could be -1, or my answer could be 1. And remember, I can still be a function because they are asking me what x value do we get. It is okay for the y to be occurring more than one time. Remember, the definition of a function is that the x's are not repeating. All right, so let's look at the next and final question for this graph. They are giving me a y value again. They're saying when the y value is 4, find the x value. So let's see. I'm going to go to the y value at 4. Again, I'm going to have two solutions here. So when the y value is 4, I already have written down that point, but I'll write it again. We've got 0, 4, and we've got 4, 4. So when the y value is 4, my answer could be 0, or it could be 4. So I'm responding with the x values. Okay. So far in this evaluating, we haven't done much math yet, kind of crunching numbers. So we're going to save that for this next problem when we actually look at an equation. So when we're evaluating in an equation, I might be needing to do a little bit of math here. So let's look at this example. All right, so the first thing we have to ask ourselves, okay, well, what did they give us? They've given us an x value. So when the x is 5, they want to know what is the y. So what that means is I'm going to go replace the x value with a 5, and I want to know what is the y. Remember, on the outside of the function is the y value, as we set up above. So I want to know 3 times 5, 15 minus 4 is going to be 11. So the y value would be 11. So we had to do a little bit of math, but again, making sure I know where I'm plugging in and then doing the math required. Okay, so the next one's actually kind of interesting because I'm not going to get a single number answer because they didn't give me a single number to plug in. They're actually giving me an expression. So they're giving me variables and constants and numbers. So when I plug that in, it's okay to get numbers and variables back. So let's see what they gave us though. Here they have given us an x value again because it's inside that parenthesis there. So I'm going to plug that in. And I want to know, well, what is the y value? Again, I'm not going to have a single number answer. So instead of now finding just a number, I'm going to need to use that order of operations that we've done before. I'm going to distribute. So I have 3x plus 3 minus 4. I'm going to go ahead and simplify. So I would get 3x minus 1. So my y value is that entire expression. Okay, they give me an expression, I'll give them an expression back. They give me a number, I'll give them a number back. All right, so the last one here, they are giving us a y value, and they want to know, well, what is the x value? So this one's a little bit different. This time I'm going to plug in 17 for the y, and I'm going to find the x. So doing that, now I need to solve this equation. So to solve this equation, I'm going to add my 4, divide by my 3, so x is going to equal 7. So the same idea, I set it equal to the y value this time, and I solved. In an equation, we might do a little bit of solving when we're evaluating. But now we should be able to evaluate given an ordered pair, a graph, or an equation.